Psychedelics are a passion of mine. I've had many life changing experiences while under the influence of a substance, and I fully advocate the legalization of all of them. But there is a reason that many of them were made illegal in the first place. When Americans were first introduced to LSD, many people died. They didn't overdose like most people do with the problem substances we have today in the US. They died because they were either unprepared for their trip or they were taking the substance recklessly. Now, I've never killed anyone or even come close to killing anyone while on a psychedelic, but I've been in a situation where I put my own life at risk. While under the influence of a psychedelic substance, I experienced a wave of fear and confusion that helped me understand how people tripping in the wrong circumstances can put their lives and the lives of others at risk. One weekend when I was 16, my mom went out of town, leaving me alone in the house for 2 whole days. So, being the psychedelic loving teen I was, I told my friends about it, and 7 of us ended up at my place Friday evening to have a trip. At the beginning, everything went great. We were having a great time telling jokes, listening to music. But about an hour or two into the 10-hour trip, one of my friends, his name was Henry, decided he wanted to go down to the convenience store. We decided to head out right then, hoping to get back before we started peaking and really tripping, and we didn't want to be out in public at that time. So I led my friends down a shortcut I knew, as I was nervous to leave the house because I was taking a much larger dose, and it was the most I'd ever taken, so I really wanted to get back quickly. The shortcut led past the home of a family I knew my mom had asked to watch me, so in the dark I told my friends to walk quickly and quietly, what they did with little struggle, which surprised me because at this point half of the group kept forgetting where we were even going, and were constantly asking at an uncontrolled volume, all due to the LSD. As we kept walking along, I had the sudden realization how far away the store was, and it hit me. I began to panic. I started to walk faster, leading the group on, but I started to peek, and crazy visuals were happening. It was already pretty dark as we were walking at night, and my vision began to splotch, dark patches everywhere. As I kept walking, it got worse, and we weren't even halfway to the store. Every step was more and more difficult. I was losing my vision. I began to sweat heavily and my hair started to stand up on end. I felt like my breathing was becoming more difficult. I wanted to run away. I wanted to hide. I just wanted everything to stop. After taking one more step, I couldn't go any further. So I turned around and headed back. Henry was right behind me and he asked if I was okay, and without thinking, I told him all of my symptoms and what was going on in my head. Before I even gave him a chance to respond, though, I kept walking. The LSD and the panic on my mind was making me go so much faster than normal. I looked up, and even though I had been leading the way, and I was heading back to my house that I had lived at for 15 years, I had no idea where I was. I had to stop us in the middle of an intersection, and was contemplating which way to go, my sweat increasing, my vision still darkening more, and I started rubbing my thumb and finger together as a nervous tick. I decided to head down a random path and started walking when I heard Henry say, "Well, if you go, we'll all go back." And he started with me. Suddenly, my sweating slowed down, and I began to breathe easier. My friends were coming along with me, and I felt less alone. I had not wanted to let them down by not going to the store, but in my altered state, I had forgotten that these were people who cared about me, and would not want to leave me alone in such a bad state. Henry caught up to me while I started down a path, and asked, "Do you know where we're going? Because we're not going towards your house." And I asked if he knew how to get back, forgetting how much more of the substance I had taken, and he laughed, pointing down a different street. "Follow me." It turns out we'd only been walking for about 5 minutes before I started tripping so hard, and Henry was able to get us back in about the same time. My vision came back just as quickly as it went, my breathing was smooth, my hair relaxed, and my sweat started to dry by the time we were about to pass my neighbor's house. This time I was happy too, and I didn't want to quiet my friends down who had just saved me from myself. They had broken out into a pirate shanty, and to avoid getting caught by my neighbors who we'd passed on the way there, I decided to run to my house as quickly as I could, and my friends just decided to follow me in the same fashion. The rest of the trip ended the same way it had begun, with happy times and laughter, but if it had not been for my friends, who knows how the rest of my night would have played out.